Hello, everybody, and welcome to the November 2nd, 2021 instance of the Kubernetes SIG-Windows community meeting. As always, these meetings are recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so be sure to adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. All right, I'll start with a couple of announcements. Code freeze is coming up. Code freeze for the 1.23 release is 2 weeks from today, so November 16th. Please work to get all of your PRs out early to give reviewers enough time to take a look and for you to be able to respond to any feedback that's needed too. Kind of similar to that, docs, for doc PRs for any enhancements, the docs team has asked that there's a placeholder PR open by the following Thursday. For any enhancements or I guess other docs related PRs. So if you're tracking an enhancement that was marked as required docs, please open that up. That is mainly so that the enhancement team knows who's going to be responsible for updating for making those docs updates and just for tracking purposes. So they just in a blank draft PR is usually okay at that point. But same thing with the code PRs. Give the docs teams as much time as you can. It really helps provide high quality docs for people. Last announcement, at least for me, is that the steering committee elections are currently ongoing. The elections close on November 4th. So if you're planning on voting, which you should, vote early. There's a new site, it's just linked here, elections.cates.io, that will have you sign in with GitHub, and and it will let you know if you're eligible or not, and then we'll just give you instructions on how to vote and show profiles and bios for all of the candidates. So it's a very important part of the open source community is voting for your representation, or who you would like to represent you for all of this. So please vote if you are eligible. Does anybody else have any other announcements? If not, we can go into the agenda item. Okay, so the first agenda item was going to be Jason Hall was going to do a demo on Tecton workloads on Windows. Unfortunately, he was messaging in Slack saying that he has a conflict. So, and it's actually a weekly conflict at this time, so we would not be able to present. There's a thread in Slack that I will link to right now, where he offered to either do a recording of the video or could work at could possibly come at another time. I had maybe suggested coming 15 minutes before one of the meetings, and we could replace the triage session that we do with that. But if people are interested in seeing this, please chime in on the Slack and we'll work on figuring out a better time. Or we could schedule something completely like separate from the SIG-Windows community meetings if needed. So yeah, just comment in there if you're interested and we'll try and get that scheduled in the near future. Next up, finishing off operational readiness. Amim, is this you?
Yeah, Jay will be late today, so we can start on this one. Basically, we want to push forward and merge this cap to start work and maybe discuss here what's missing for this move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, so I read through it, and it seems like a lot of the feedback was addressed. There's two things. One, I really like how it was kind of split up into different sections. So you could run like your base, and then you could run like the GMSA, you could run the networking, and that was really nice. I enjoyed that. And I think it's a good way to kind of break up all the different things that Windows can do. The second part was, where does this fit into conformance, and how does the conformance are we going to have an official conformance reporting somewhere when you meet one of these subcategories that you've outlined here, or like where does that's what I see to be missing from KEP and understanding what the outcome is.
I think it makes sense to have a conformance specification and like have this as part of hybrid multi-node spec. So I'm not sure how this fits and how you can push forwarding the conformance like officially. But I think this could be like an option. I don't know, even if we use Sonoboy or use another way to have this option enabled as a conformance way. But I agree, maybe you should clarify this in the KEP.
Yeah, I think if we want to kind of interact with the official definition of conformance, we would want to loop in SIG architecture, who kind of is the overseers of conformance for this. But I think before we do that, we should have an idea of what we would like and hopefully have it in there.
What subset of these tests are already on conformance?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what subset of them are already working as conformance?
Well, so there is no Windows conformance right now. You can't like report that your Windows node is conformant, and that's where it would be nice to be able to come in and say, you know, if you run this set of tests, it would report as conformant. We take as you called out in this document here, we've got like the Linux tests that are marked as conformant that aren't Linux only is kind of what we run as our suite of tests right now, plus a set of Windows tests. And I think if we can say this bucket is the conformant bucket, and then there's a couple other ones that you would maybe mimic to be conformant in the Active Directory spec, that would be what we could go to SIG architecture with and say there, as long as we can agree that, you know, this is the set of tests as a SIG, and then we can go to them and say, this is what we'd like to have conformant, and then maybe have these other sub components. Because I think there's another concept that they've been trying to move forward with conformance is, I forget what it is, but it is like a subset of the tests. So,
which I think that this would fall into, because I don't think that we're ready or people are ready to say that in order to be conformant, you must run Windows nodes in your cluster. So we would want to say, change that to, if you are running Windows nodes, these are the tests that would, you know, provide the equivalent of conformance for that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember we replaced conformance with readiness in the beginning of the KEP.
Yeah, I thought we
to
had
avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we even renamed the KEP to operational readiness to kind of avoid that conformance, but.
Yeah, maybe I need to discuss this with Jay, but maybe the first phase would be have this as a readiness and like have an option to have these tests running and a complete suite of tests before going to conformance. I don't mind to write another one to make them conformance or a subset of them conformance later.
Yeah, and it might be easier to reason about this if there is, like, if all of the work is done and it is for operational readiness, and then take that to the architecture team.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a good approach.
Continue. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Claude.
I was going to ask, why are there things mentioned about volumes at basic networking?
I was just wondering, I wonder if this is just a markdown formatting issue.
And secondly, regarding networking, does that include both network overlay and network SDN bridge? Because there are a couple of limitations when it comes to overlay networks. And there are certain scenarios that we also skip as tests in CIs. So we might have to address what conformance means in regards to networking in regards to those issues. If you remember those issues, Mark.
Yeah,
it was regarding the node port or something like that, or probes not being able to reach certain containers using overlay networks.
I think it was the node ports. I think that containers on the same host, like containers on a host, couldn't access the like the node port IP, but a container could access the node port IP of a different host with overlay net or
Yeah.
something strange like that.
Yeah, we do have an issue for that. We should dig it up.
That's a great thing to bring up is, yeah, we should say we probably should differentiate between overlay and bridge networking.
So this will be targeted for 124. Is that the idea here? We'll try to get this ready and merged for 124.
I think when 24 makes more sense than when 23. That's too more.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think you can.
Yeah,
merge
the
together,
enhancement
is-
freeze is already over the long past for 123. So I think that makes sense too then.
Claudio, do you have the issue number later so I can bring as a comment or?
Let me dig it up. I'll send it in chat a bit later.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, is there anything else you're looking for? Just more reviews and hopefully some approvals, or I mean, and approvals for this to move forward, or?
Exactly. I will change maybe the network overlay and bridge and do the bump for the 124, and maybe we could be ready to approvals or last round of review. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, and they can always evolve as it, as work is done or in between the different stages too, so.
So I just have a quick question. Maybe I missed this in the conversation. So this is a prerequisite to the Windows conformance test we're working on. Is like, I'm trying to understand, like, from an end user perspective or the infrastructure providers, like, is this just a checklist to kind of go through to help?
Hopefully that's covered in the motivations or the summary of the CAP. But yeah, we can go through that.
So I mean, that's where I was confused. There's define the verification requirements for operational readiness. We are talking from an infrastructure like somebody who's running a Kubernetes cluster, right? Not someone who is about to deploy, who's the user of Windows and Kubernetes. Is that right?
That's my understanding. Yes, is that I think that they're saying a user who wants to deploy a workload on Kubernetes can expect or should expect that all of the criteria laid out here has been met in the cluster by whoever's providing that.
by
I
running these buckets of tests.
Mhm.
Is that
Oh, I
right?
see.
I mean, is that kind of the idea?
I think that's kind of the idea. Yeah, that's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely see the use of it being, the customer being like the end user being more confident, because sometimes we do see between distros, there's like some deficiency one place or the other. So I definitely see that, serving the purpose, but I definitely want to get the Windows conformance test kind of thing going as well for the larger thing. So
Mhm.
Yeah, we have the subtests of set here. If you go to the spreadsheet, we start to map what's missing, what we have. So the idea is to have at least this amount of tests guaranteeing that you have the spec working in the cluster.
I see. Okay, I need to go through more details. Thank you, Amin.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, yeah, thank you. We will, I guess, continue the conversation in the pull request then.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Next agenda item, I'm not sure who added this. It's me, but I did not add this.
Is it regarding the pause image 3.3 not being in MCR, the Microsoft.com?
Possibly.
I do have an answer for that. Windows support was first introduced in pause image 3.4. So that's probably the reason why it isn't mirrored on the Microsoft registry.
Yeah, and possibly this person is asking what pause image they should use for their 1.19 clusters. If I remember correctly, the pause images that we are making now do support all of the versions of Windows since Windows Server 2019. So it should be safe to use the latest pause image, like 3.6 on even a 119 cluster.
Yep.
Regardless, on either Windows Server 2019 or any of the SAC releases since then.
I think there was even a few updates in 3.5 that were helped with performance, right, Mark, with the removal of the.
We stopped, I think, the diag track service and a couple of other services that were not needed and were causing delays in starting up containers and performance issues and all of that.
Hey, folks, I added that last bullet.
Oh, okay.
Did you just answer that question? Sorry, I just got out of my.
I think we weren't exactly sure what the question was, but we answered some possible questions around that.
Oh yeah, I just got a question from someone today about where to get pause 3 from. That was and I don't know anything about the pause image, so I didn't know what to tell him.
Oh yeah. So Claudio just said that but prior to 3.4, the pause images were always built, like they have a different numbering scheme for Windows and are published differently. But but people should just use the latest pause image regardless of what cluster or like what version of cluster they're on. So use the 3.6 pause image on the 119 clusters. It should work and it should have performance improvements.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Cool. I can add that. Oh, you're adding it. Cool.
Yep. Okay, does anybody else have any topics or should we give everybody 10 minutes back?
I just want to give an update on the pod OS field.
Okay,
so,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I have broken it down into 3 PRs. The first one is related to introducing the API. The second is making changes on the kubelet side so that the OS label gets reconciled. The third one is related, again, it's on the kubelet side. It's related to, say, if the pod OS field does not match the node label, kubelet would reject the pods at the kubelet admission time, not at the scheduler admission time, but at the kubelet admission time. So the first PR related to API introduction, it is merged. Thank you, Mark. And obviously Jordan helped with the API side of things. So that PR is merged. So we'll now have an OS field. It is behind a feature gate. So if someone wants to give that a spin, please go ahead and try. The changes that I need to make on the pod security plugin. So Jordan has provided an interesting point there where he says, even if I make some changes to kubelet today, since the kubelet's queue support policy is safe for there is a, say if the API server version is N, we would support N-2 versions of kubelet. So because of that, the changes that I have to make may have to be backported, and we usually do not backport API changes. So what Jordan suggested is the changes that I'm making to pod security plugin, where I'm relaxing certain fields based on the OS field, that may have to wait till the beta is hit, so that kubelet supported is 124 instead of 123.
That is kind of makes sense. I know that in general, the project and Jordan especially is pretty big proponents of not having beta features depend on features that are already in alpha. So I could see why, and I believe like the PSP update is going to beta in 123, and this is going into alpha. The OS field is going into alpha, so I could see that kind of that argument and the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, and also on the kubelet side, we cannot make those changes, because if you look at the kubelet change that I'm making on the OS spec on the pod spec side, I have to look at the OS field, and that will not be available in 122. So I have to wait till it graduates to beta in 124, and by that time, hopefully we'll have kubelet supporting or kubelet understanding the OS field, because 124 will be the only version that is supported. So I think I'm fine with that particular change, but at this point of time, I'm waiting on the Node team to review the changes. I've got some feedback last week. I have made this changes that were asked of me. So I'm waiting for the Node team to look at it.
Okay, yeah, and I do know that the Node team was quite busy last week. That's when they set their reviewers. Last week was when they set their, or was it 2 weeks ago? They set
I think it was
their soft code
22nd.
freeze for Node
Yeah.
features. So hopefully that there's more reviewer bandwidth. But I'll start also trying to ping the reviewers for those.
Yeah. So that's all I have for now. And the changes that Arvind mentioned last week, I think he can give it a shot now, like where both run as user and I forget the other field. So if both of them are set, we wanted to make sure that they get rejected, right? The pod would not get admitted at the API server admission time itself. So with that field now available, I think we can give it a shot.
Okay, if we enable this feature, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the updates. Yeah, I unfortunately it does seem like we may need to wait until the features in beta to have all like a majority of the desired behaviors. But either way, I mean, the sooner we get it to alpha, the sooner we get it to beta. So
yeah, I think the next release I'll try to push it to beta. We'll see how it goes from there, unless I receive any negative feedback.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, thanks for the updates. I can provide a quick update with the host process containers moving to beta. There's a couple, I think most of the functional changes have been merged. There wasn't that many. There's one outstanding change that I am also waiting for node review on, and that's to add metrics. And then the rest are test changes. So hopefully we'll be promoting that to beta pretty soon for the 123 release. All right, does anybody else have anything? Jay, are you planning on doing the pairing
Yeah,
session today?
Yeah, definitely. And if folks, I just wanted to, I see y'all said conformance versus readiness, but I think we all decided we're going to not call it conformance at all, right? So is that just,
yeah, I remember that a while ago. I wasn't sure if anything had changed.
okay. Does anybody have a problem with us just not calling it conformance? If so, I'll update that comment because I don't see the point. Yeah.
Why are we not calling conformance?
So that we can make forward progress, I think is a candid answer.
Okay.
Just because we want to get it's more important to get the thing standardized than it is to call it the right thing.
I think I can agree with that, at least for now.
And I think I was asking around like, how does this differ from conformance and where does that fit in? And I think Amin kind of said, let's get this out as the readiness now, get it finalized, and then maybe we can talk about moving it into conformance in the next phase of this whole thing. Because I do think that there's some level of importance there for conformance, because we do get a lot of questions like, how do I say my Windows nodes are conformant? And what, there's a lot of confusion there. And so it would be nice to be able to have folks be able to publish and say, hey, my AKS cluster, my VMware cluster, my AWS cluster is conformant for Windows nodes eventually. But yeah, getting it all tightened up and getting it getting it dialed in is a good idea first, and then make it easier to go to the next step.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we're on the same page. Cool. I just wanted to, yeah, we're all thinking the same thing. Great.
Sounds good. All right, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you everybody for attending, and then hand it over to Jay for the pairing.